guys, and today I'm here to talk about the books that have made me cry. These are just the books that I found on my shelves, and then one more that is on my Kindle that have made me cry. And yeah, so I'm just gonna get started and talk about the books that make me cry. A lot of books make me cry. So the first one is probably a very obvious choice, so I thought I'd say it first, and that is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. Anybody that has read this or seen the movie knows why you'd cry at this book, and I pretty much think everybody has read this book. I've not really talked to anybody in the booktube community that has not read this, so I'm pretty sure most of us have read this. So there's no way to explain this, but I cried lots of tears. I was in my boyfriend's back garden at a barbecue with his family, and I cried when I finished this book. It was awful. Awful. The next book that made me cry was Love Letters to the Dead by Ava Delaria. I have a review of this, so I'll link that down below, although it's quite old, I think. But yeah, this really made me cry. It's about a girl that has that sister has recently died, and she gets an assignment in school to write a letter to a dead person, and she chooses Kurt Cobain because he died young, just like her sister did. And then she starts making this a habit and writing to a lot of dead people, and really getting her feelings out through it, like a diary. And I really enjoyed this one, but it made me cry so much, and I explained why in my video, if you've read this. So I think I have quite specific reasons why I cried at this book, which I explained in that video. And so I do feel like I really related to this, and it was a really good portrayal of the feelings in this book. The next book I cried at might confuse some of you, and that was Isla and the Happily Ever After. I cried happy tears at this. I was sad it was over, but also I just cried. It just kind of came out and I had no control. I just cried. And yeah, this third book in the Anna and the French Kiss series. And I was just sad that we weren't going to spend any more time with the people. I really wanted to spend more time with them. The next one probably won't be a surprise, and that is Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. A lot of people will have cried at this because of the horrific murders and everything that goes on in this book. There was no dry eye through the second half of this. It's just so sad. Peter. Oh, Peter. Makes me cry so much in this book. The next book on my list was Allegiant by Veronica Roth. And even though I didn't enjoy this book, it still made me cry. I still couldn't get through it without crying. I was on the bus to the Harry Potter studio tours when I finished this book, and God, it was awful. I just cried. It was just horrible. But I will probably reread this to see if I like it anymore on the second reading at some point. The next book is another not surprising one, and that is Looking for Alaska by John Green. Again, if you've read this, you understand why. It's about a boy named Miles who moves into a boarding school and makes friends with this girl called Alaska. And that's all I'm going to say about it, because spoilers. It's set out in a really interesting way, which was one of the reasons why I loved it. And it's set in, like, it says, I don't think you can see that, like 109 days before, but it doesn't tell you what it's before. It's counting down through the chapters. Every chapter is a new day before the incident that happens, and then halfway through you get to the after. So that's the day after. But I am going to reread this soon because it's getting made into a movie, and I need to have a bit of a John Green binge because the only book I've reread is The Fault in Our Stars, and that could not do. The next book is Percy Jackson, The Last Olympian. This one, again, it was another one that I cried happy tears because I think this was a really great ending to this series. I think it all wrapped up really nicely. We got to see Annabeth and Percy have their little moment, and that made me cry, and we got to see them defeat the big villain of the series, which was really great. Basically, this one was perfect, and I loved it. The next one is a pretty recent read, and it relates to the last book I showed, and that is The Blood of Olympus by Rick Riordan. I did not cry at House of Hades like a lot of people did, because I was spoiled for the ending of that book, but I did cry at this one, mostly because it's the ending, and I didn't want to leave this world. I really loved the world, and I just didn't want to leave it. And I'm sad that it's over, but I'm excited to read the King Chronicles and also to read his new Norse Gods series, because I know nothing about Norse Gods, so I'm excited. And the last book, and probably the ultimate book that I cried at, The Darkest Minds by I was about to say Suzanne Collins. No. The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. I cried at every single one of these books. Like, every single one. This woman has the power to make me cry. Sobs of tears. And I've said that in multiple videos that she has this power over me. But it will never cease to be true. So, a book about... a video about crying at books would not be complete without this one. So yeah, that was my books I cried at video, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.